The Russo-Japanese War, 1904 to 1905, was a pivotal conflict driven by Japan's desire to expand its influence in East Asia and counter Russia's growing power in the region. The war was fundamentally about imperial ambitions, territorial control, and the strategic importance of Manchuria and Korea, territories that were critical to both countries. Japan's decision to attack Russia was a result of a combination of geopolitical factors, economic interests, and the desire to assert its power on the world stage. 1. Competition for control over Korea and Manchuria. One of the primary reasons Japan attacked Russia was the struggle for control over Korea and Manchuria, regions crucial to both countries' ambitions. After Japan's victory in the First Sino-Japanese War 1894 to 1895, it gained influence over Korea, a resource-rich region seen as a strategic buffer between Japan and China. However, Russia, seeking a warm water port for its navy and a stronger presence in East Asia, began expanding its influence in Manchuria and Korea. Russia's expansion. Russia's building of the Chinese Eastern Railway in Manchuria and its military presence in the region posed a direct challenge to Japan's interests in Korea and northeastern China. Japan viewed Russian encroachment as a threat to its own security and its newly established imperial presence in the region. Korean sovereignty. Japan also had ambitions to fully annex Korea, which it considered essential to its imperial strategy. Russia's growing influence in the region, including its support for a pro-Russian Korean faction, alarmed Japan, leading it to perceive Russia as the greatest obstacle to its control over Korea. 2. Desire to secure regional dominance. Japan's imperial ambitions were driven by the desire to establish itself as a major world power. By the early 20th century, Japan had modernized its military and economy through the Meiji Restoration, 1868 to 1912, and sought to challenge traditional European powers. Military and economic strength. Japan had successfully transformed into a military powerhouse, while Russia, although large, was politically unstable and struggling with internal issues. Japan saw an opportunity to assert itself against a declining Russian Empire and to secure its dominance in East Asia by defeating a European power. International recognition. A victory over Russia would elevate Japan's status on the world stage, showing that an Asian nation could defeat a European power and challenging Western imperial dominance in Asia. Japan was eager to prove its military prowess and to be recognized as a legitimate imperial power. 3. Breakdown of diplomatic efforts. In the years leading up to the war, Japan attempted to resolve the conflict with Russia through diplomacy, but these efforts were unsuccessful. Both countries had competing interests, and their negotiations over the future of Korea and Manchuria failed to produce a lasting agreement. Failed negotiations. Japan sought a diplomatic resolution in which both countries would respect each other's spheres of influence in East Asia, but Russia was unwilling to make concessions. The failure of these negotiations, particularly Russia's refusal to recognize Japan's claims in Korea, pushed Japan towards war. Preemptive strike. With diplomacy exhausted and the threat of Russian dominance in East Asia becoming more imminent, Japan made the decision to launch a preemptive strike against Russia. Japan attacked the Russian fleet at Port Arthur in February 1904, marking the beginning of the Russo-Japanese War. 4. Strategic calculations. Japan's decision to attack Russia was also influenced by strategic calculations. Japan knew that Russia, embroiled in internal political turmoil and with logistical difficulties due to its vast size, would be less able to mobilize an effective military response. By striking quickly, Japan aimed to deliver a decisive blow before Russia could bring its full military strength to bear. Geographic advantage. Japan had a significant advantage in terms of proximity to the theater of war, with its forces stationed in Korea and the surrounding region. Russia, on the other hand, was stretched thin, with its forces having to travel long distances from its European territories to engage Japan in East Asia. Conclusion. Japan's attack on Russia in the Russo-Japanese War was the result of a combination of imperial ambitions, strategic considerations, and diplomatic failures. Japan sought to secure its control over Korea and Manchuria, assert itself as a major global power, and prevent Russia from dominating East Asia. By attacking Russia, Japan aimed to preemptively neutralize its rival and ensure its own dominance in the region, a move that would ultimately lead to Japan's emergence as a major military and imperial power in the early 20th century.